Welcome to Financial Inspiration. Use the links in the description to get up to 4 free audiobooks. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe for more content.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo this week taking a hard line once again on Beijing, accusing the Chinese Communist Party of tyrannizing its people while speaking at a Richard Nixon Library event in California on Thursday. Pompeo's rebuke coming just hours after 2 Chinese diplomats were caught trying to steal coronavirus vaccine research in Houston. Joining me right now is Ray Dalio. He's the co-chief investment officer and the co-investment officer of Bridgewater Associates and founder. It is great to see you once again, Ray. Thanks very much for joining me once again this week.
Great to be here.
So I want to talk about the economy and your thoughts on the dollar and all of the stimulus that we've seen in the Federal Reserve, Ray. But first, I've got to get your reaction to all that we're seeing coming out of China. I know that you are a global investor and you look for growth across the world. Would you still want to invest in China given what we have learned about the Communist Party?
I think there are three big things going on, and they operate together, and those are the important ones. The first is where we are in the debt cycle, the printing of money, and that. The second is how we are with each other, that we're having an ideological civil war that when you combine that with an economic downturn in which there's the printing of money and the creation of money out of thin air is an issue. And then you have the rising power of China challenging the existing power. Those three things, the last time they happened was in the 1930 to 45 period. I think you have to see them together. So that is the position we're now in. In terms of China, we are in a conflict with China. You could call it a war, like the 1930s. So that there's a trade war, there's a technology war, there is a geopolitical war, and there could be a capital war. And so that's the reality. Now, regarding policy, that's for governments to set, but the challenge is to set it well, because if you say by law, don't invest in China, or even possibly withholding the payment of bonds that the United States owes payment on in China. These things are possibilities, and they have big implications, such as for the value of the dollar, because investors, free market investors, are not used to having those things dictated by the government. So these are difficult questions that have to be well addressed at this time.
But would the news of 1 million Uyghurs being locked up in re-education camps, the ignoring of the rule of law by stealing intellectual property, the overreach in Hong Kong, breaking promises there, militarizing the South China Sea, do any of these things come into focus when deciding to invest in China?
I think that we, as Americans, have got to decide on what's most important to us. And it becomes a challenge. For example, from a Chinese perspective, they believe that's an area of sovereignty and that those internal issues are to be dealt with by them. And we have to have, just like they wouldn't deal in our internal issues. These are questions that individuals don't decide. Individuals have to decide if they're ethical, if they're operating in ways that are consistent with their beliefs. That's a personal decision who you want to do.
That's exactly right.
But at the end of the day,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
hold on, Ray. Yep.
At the end of the day,
we're going to take a break and then come back to that when we come right back. We are back with Bridgewater Chief Investment Officer Ray Dalio. And Ray, a moment ago, you mentioned the potential for a capital war. I want to ask you about the economy and what your thoughts are about all of the stimulus being thrown at the economy given this shutdown. Do you worry about the impact to the reserve currency, the dollar, Ray?
Yeah, we are only going to be successful if we do things in a solid way, right? So the things I worry about the most are the soundness of our money. You can't continue to run deficits, sell debt, or print money rather than be productive and sustain that over a period of time. And that relates to the money and what's now happening. And the second is the working together. You know, I study history, and as I say, the 30 to 45 period is educational because within each country, there have been conflicts about, like our conflicts. 4 democracies chose to be dictatorships because of the disorder of how people are fighting with each other rather than working together. If we don't work together to do the sound things, to be productive, to earn more than we spend, to build our currency, the stability of our currency, and build a good balance sheet, we are going to decline. We are declining because of those things. And so it's basically in those fundamentals that are the most important things that we deal with. We are our own worst enemy. So how we deal with each other soundly and productively in a way that most people in the country believe is fair is going to determine our future.
Ray, thank you.